Eu acredito que literalmente aborto é sacrifício de crianças.
Ah, mas como assim um sacrifício?
Povos pagãos sacrificavam bebês aos deuses para melhorar suas vidas.
Ah, eu já li sobre isso. Inclusive está escrito na Bíblia que os cananeus sacrificavam seus filhos e filhas em troca de dinheiro e prosperidade.
The man behind the sketch is 27-year-old Brazilian Lucas Pavanato. On the surface, he looks like a digital influencer with faith-forward content.
Por isso nós estamos aqui hoje na Avenida Paulista para ver o que as pessoas pensam a respeito de Jesus e da Páscoa.
But Pavanato isn't just performing for clicks. He's an evangelical politician who was the most voted candidate in Brazil's 2024 municipal elections. He belongs to the Partido Liberal, the party once led by former President Jair Bolsonaro, now the backbone of Brazil's far-right opposition. And he isn't alone. Fellow Partido Liberal MPs Nicolas Ferreira and Ana Carolina Campagnolo cut similar figures online. Young, ultra-conservative evangelicals with millions of followers across their platforms. Together, they represent a new hybrid. Politicians who communicate like digital influencers.
Porque quando a serpente encontra Eva e quer propor a ela o primeiro pecado, o pecado original, a desobediência, a serpente questiona o que Deus disse.
And sermonize like New Age televangelists.
Que cada vez mais é necessário a gente, ir nos purificando e, penetrando mais denso ainda.
Quando nós olhamos as...
When we look at the social media of these three people, it's difficult to distinguish between the politician, the religious figure, and the digital influencer. This makes sense given that this is exactly what their political strategy is, to navigate these disparate worlds. It's a strategy that takes place especially within the right wing and the far right. It's a new communications trend within Brazilian politics.
Na política brasileira. Então elas emulam muito o discurso.
And what we notice in these three figures is the way that they emulate pastoral speeches and preach to their followers that a good Christian should be doing what the Bible says.
E para isso eu já te peço duas coisas. Primeiro, para que você tenha a sua Bíblia em mãos. Todos os dias aqui você vai ter a sua Bíblia em mãos.
That's known as dominionism, a brand of theology that maintains that believers should govern society according to biblical principles. And they have all been able to grasp very well the concept of being against the liberal status quo, pressing those moral panic alarm buttons.
Essas mulheres aqui que estão comemorando a morte de crianças no ventre, quando eu falo para você que esse é o movimento, o maior movimento genocida do mundo,
against abortion, drugs or feminism.
Quero te contar um episódio real de duas feministas mentirosas.
They have mastered certain online communication tools that old school televangelists only started using much later.
Brazil's televangelists have been refining this ultra-conservative message for decades.
Deus, quando fez o homem, fez essa terra, ele fez tudo perfeito. Quem corrompeu isso foi o homem, desobedecendo a Deus.
Their churches didn't just preach, they built a parallel media universe, radio pastors, gospel pop stars, even primetime soap operas. And today, Brazil's second largest television network, Record TV, is owned by an evangelical bishop, Edir Macedo. It's a media ecosystem that fuses celebrity status with religious authority, and it's now being spearheaded by digital natives like Pavanato, Ferreira, and Campagnolo, who understand that faith can be turned into political currency, and their ranks are growing.
Durante todo o século XX,
the 21st century saw a very strong presence of evangelical figures in the media, and new ones keep appearing. Figures like Raquel Lima.
Milagres que eu via na Bíblia, milagres que eu lia na Bíblia, né? E eu via nos meus olhos.
She's a pastor and radio producer from São Paulo who has a lot of influence. If you imagine someone who works as a concierge in a tower block, they spend the whole night sitting there in reception listening to her. And what's interesting is that the production of podcasts and web-based TV has led to increased evangelical content, given that people can make an internet show with just a mobile phone.
Pessoas podem produzir.
O segundo canal mais popular. The second most popular YouTube channel in Brazil belongs to an evangelical bishop, Bruno Leonardo.
Bom dia, que Deus e o céu te guardem.
He's an emissary delivering a message to his supporters. But in the evangelical churches, there is no pope to tell you what to say. The message can be readily customized. Anybody can adapt it to whatever their need is, however they want to. So Nicolais, Anna Carolini and Lucas have all been very good at understanding this and converting it into political capital.
Transformar isso em capital político mesmo.
These influencers inherited an audience that had already been primed to receive their political message by the former president. When Jair Bolsonaro emerged as a national political figure, evangelicals recognized an ideology that chimed with their theology, Bolsonarismo, built around traditional family values, nationalism, and religion. Prominent televangelists opened their platforms to Bolsonaro. In return, they gained political backing. For the first time in Brazil's history, evangelicals, now more than a quarter of the population, became an electoral force that could not be ignored.
Eu quero meus filhos.
And the alliance forged through media, faith, and mutual advantage helped Bolsonaro gain and sustain the support of nearly 70% of Brazil's evangelicals.
Traditionally, the big figures in the evangelical community in Brazil would always support those in power. What started to happen in the 2010s is evangelicals would pick a political side that would better represent their ultra-conservative values. Bolsonaro, who was a federal congressman at the time, understood that evangelicals would back whoever really put their conservative values at the forefront of their political agenda for Brazil. So when he entered the presidential race, he associated himself with various evangelical figures who are all quite dominant, both in terms of their media presence as well as their ideals.
This all led to the building of very close ties between Bolsonaro and the evangelical community, relationships which were nurtured. Bolsonaro was seen at church and in religious media. Figures in the evangelical media sphere, such as Edir Macedo or Silas Malafaia, strengthened their public image amongst evangelicals by aligning their own profiles with that of Bolsonaro.
Outside their own media ecosystem, evangelical voices are largely sidelined by Brazil's mainstream media. They are rarely seen as serious religious and political actors, or as the growing constituency they represent. That underrepresentation says less about the media's oversight and more about where Brazil's evangelical audience is headed. With nearly 8 in 10 Brazilians getting their information primarily online, the evangelical digital space is getting bigger and more politically relevant. And the message sent by dominating figures of this space is clear. Command the feed, and you command the vote.
Lula's administration is looking for online-based communication that can connect with the public in the way Pavanato, Ferreira, and Campagnolo do. The Office for Communications was even reformed in 2024, precisely to engage with the general public online. Lula is somewhat of an analog figure. These political influencers, they're showing you how they have lunch. And next thing you see is them launching into a tirade against feminists.
Quando eu falo para vocês que feminismo é doença, muita gente desacredita.
They've managed to bring the aesthetics of online communication into the political sphere.
Religioso, ou seja, pessoal que está antenado na internet.
All those people who are glued to the internet, watching videos on their feed, no longer depend on the mainstream media. So now we have this ready-made online ecosystem, and evangelical right-wing influencers are being replicated. You even start seeing influencers who've moved into the evangelical ecosystem and who are using evangelical discourse to acquire political power. Voices who can form a conservative cluster of considerable political strength. They have really high-flying objectives. They want to go all the way to the presidency.
Voos políticos mais altos.
Thanks for watching. Leave us a like or a comment to let us know what you thought about anything we covered this week. The links to our social media and our newsletter are in the description. That's where you can follow us for updates from the show.